The biblical concept of dominion is subverted in the latest Jurassic series entry. The subtitle line of Jurassic World Dominion is pontificated from the lectern to an adoring audience of budding technocrats by Jeff Goldblum's Dr. Ian Malcolm. Dr. Malcolm, obviously endowed with greater wisdom than that which brought forth the Bible, anoints his young disciples with the sage pronouncement that humankind does not have dominion over nature and is in fact subservient to it. As disconcerting as this revelation is to those of us with opposable thumbs who fancy ourselves stewards, it is imbued with the stature of prophecy by the Greta Thunbergs of the world, many of whom, I suppose, share her privileged background, providing the leisure time to wag an unseasoned finger at the dumb old elders destroying the planet and hiss the indictment, "How dare you?" The you herein targeted, one assumes, being the workaday folks of the world, the ones in the fields and factories and offices, likely earning far less than any selected member of Greta's family. Armed with such wisdom dispensed by the crowned and conquering child, the global technocracy, with blank checks from those few hundred families in the power elite that have always had the controlling interest in everything, are now endeavoring to lasso and drag the rest of us into the Great Reset. You know, the one where the real-life Dr. Evil, Klaus Schwab, at his most avuncular, manages a smirk while informing you that in the future you'll own nothing and be happy. Failing to mention, of course, that he and his cohorts will own everything, as the servant class enables them to wallow in pampered ecstasy. So our minds, made malleable by nearly 2 centuries of entertainment, media, politics, and education, are now being shaped at a dizzying pace through medicalization, weather changes, paranoia, and identity politics mired in the false left-right paradigm. The end game will be a planetary surveillance state built on biocomputer interfaces, genetic manipulations, and nanotechnology, which will render most of us smugly upgraded as humanity 2.0, having swung open wide the doors from transgender to transhuman. Brave new world indeed. For 2 years, we trembled in place as if the nasty disease sweeping the planet were bubonic plague, as if people were mysteriously dropping in the streets outside our window, as we saw in the news from Ground Zero in the People's Republic in January of 2020. By amazing coincidence, the same city simultaneously was rolling out level 5 of that G thing, our prison cell towers. In the US, this technology came online exactly contiguous with the commencement of lockdowns, so we kind of didn't notice. We are permitting our minds to be warped faster than the rush into our bloodstream by a largely untested gene therapy. Any misgivings expressed were rank heresy, which brought about swift retribution from the corporate media inquisition. Those mendacious proclamations of, "You won't get it and you won't spread it," were sold to us as a once and done proposition, a bill of goods. Skepticism was slandered with the pejorative conspiracy theory and persecuted with unemployment, military discharge without benefits, and being banned from college campuses, air travel, and Starbucks. Now, all those dishonest acolytes for the genetic jab are being walked back down a different avenue every few weeks. Even prestigious MIT, in concert with some of its peers worldwide, has recently conceded that what Sleepy Joe mandated injected into the temple of our bodies could possibly penetrate the nuclei of our cells and alter us genetically in unforeseen ways. Possibly. Talk shows try to sell us on barbecued bugs as the inevitable and tasty cuisine of the future. I'm fairly certain that when the rest of us are scarfing down slimy squigglies, the architects of the Great Reset will yet be washing down pâté foie gras with Chateau Lafite Rothschild. Billionaires are now buying up all the best food producing land, and all that nasty disease carrying livestock will be removed, except a little private reserve, of course, as their AI guided robotics watch over us with loving grace in a city centralized stack and pack housing development. Should we dare question the high priest of science and technocracy, our devices or our children will civic-mindedly rat us out to the Orwellian Disinformation Governance Board. But we'll take solace in whatever crumbs of genetic upgrades are made available to the plebeians that survived the Mad Max Blade Runner dystopia that will initiate the Great Reset. Of course, a number of those upgrades will be deemed mandatory for public health and welfare. Those Luddites, Christians mostly, who refuse the genetic enhancements embraced without question by the evolving majority, will either be eliminated from the body politic and commerce or subsist meagerly on its margins. Those who drink the Homo superior Kool-Aid will be godlike in comparison to mere Homo sapiens, who will have to make do with eternal life in God's kingdom and the Homo sapien birthright of earthly dominion. That dominion can never be taken away from us, but only cajoled out of us voluntarily, as Esau was in exchange for a paltry bowl of stew. But we're not there yet, and how long it will take to get there is a matter of the technology the power elite develops and how much pushback the rest of us give. The storm is clearly coming up on the horizon. Interest rates will topple the housing market. Cryptocurrency will replace the petrodollar as the world's reserve currency, ending the century of American preeminence. Unprecedented global economic collapse will degenerate into unprecedented global chaos. Decades of strategic provocation of Russia, Iran, and China will come to bloody fruition. But this time, much of that blood will run in the streets of an America besieged by cyber attacks, military invasion, and civil strife. The internet and energy grids will go down. Bank accounts and retirement funds will vanish. Inflation by the minute will render currency worthless, as in the Weimar Republic of Germany in 1923. Supply line disruption will empty the grocery shelves. And all you preppers will find yourselves handing over your entire hoarded supply to gangs of armed and hungry young men going door to door. And you won't be able to eat your gold. If this is not enough to bring us to our knees and squash all forms of dissent, there are new pathogens, new variants that can be unleashed and trotted out from germ warfare stockpiles, or will ensure a host of natural disasters that will be blamed on weather, corrupted by the carbons of our day-to-day living. Eventually, the chaos and violence will wear us down, and we will beg the overlords for relief from the catastrophes, It is classic problem reaction solution. The power elite creates the problem, waits for our reaction, and then offers their solution. The Hegelian dialectic of the false left-right paradigm will fulfill its goal of eliminating one side of the dialectic, most likely the right. Need for global solutions to global problems like weather disasters will necessitate global governance. Cryptocurrency will completely replace cash. And now that we have it on the blockchain, every single transaction will be recorded. The Internet of Things will quickly become the Internet of Bodies, and we will surf the web with our minds. The lives of many will become almost entirely virtual, and most will move through their day via avatars of different genders or no gender at all. The digital prison we are currently building will be completed. There will be no such thing as getting off the grid, and you won't even be able to have a propane tank. Everything will be electric, so it can be shut off to get you back in line. Not many will question the fossil fuels it takes to generate this electricity. We have been indoctrinated for too many decades by misanthropic propaganda under the guise of environmentalism. Human dignity has been demoted to be on par with kangaroo rats and water lilies. The notion of human dominion of the earth is already deemed anthropocentric arrogance. The Unabomber has met his moment. Few ever question the underlying motives of the blue bloods and royals who founded the environmentalist movement. One such patriarch was former Nazi sympathizer Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands and the recently late Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's consort. To the latter is famously attributed the comment that he would like to be reincarnated as a virus so that he could do something about the surplus population. Excuse me. Prince Philip's fellow subject of the empire, Ebenezer Scrooge, expressed an equal concern with reducing the surplus population, offering that the poor best be getting busy with dying off. Dickens penned this sentiment in 1843 when the number of people per square mile was minuscule compared to our own day, where 90% of the Earth's land still remains open. Such sympathy for genocide and eugenics is intellectually rooted in the 1798 Malthusian doctrine of Thomas Malthus. This doctrine held that human population rapidly grows to outstrip food supplies and other essential resources. The elitism, which fostered the environmental movement, now sees itself as altruistic and serving a greater good. This is an example of Gumbo Craig's axiom number 1, which states, all information above a conversation is sponsored. That sponsored information always has an agenda, and that agenda is seldom benign to the public welfare. The very first thing we should ask about any information that comes our way is who bought and paid for it. Whose vocation or future employment depends on it? The answer will very seldom be people who make less than you do. People can rather understand the powerless cabals pressing for New World Order, but the audience shrinks significantly when you take it to the next level, which is spiritual warfare. The biblical angelic rebellion is very real, and the evidence pervades our entire history and current condition. What we call angels, and what author Timothy Alberino more appropriately refers to as the elder race, was also created with free will and with a glorified immortal body, probably not unlike Adam and Eve had before the fall. As per the Bible, the elder race has technology, culture, and social structures. They are not winged phantoms made of air, and they technically do not live in another dimension. We generally cannot perceive their particular level of physicality since the fall, as what is referred to as the third eye or pineal gland has been basically closed by the Lord in order to prevent meddling by agents of the angelic rebellion. Nonetheless, the goal of alchemists, magicians, and occultists through the ages has been the acquisition of gnosis or secret knowledge to open that third eye and acquire the godlike powers that, in their view, the light-bearer Lucifer wishes for us to have, and that the tyrant demiurge God of the Bible forbids us to access. Some see the elder race rebels as the source of UFO phenomenon and alien abduction experiences. A primary objective in this rebellion seems to be the mingling of humans and the elder race into a single hybrid. This provides insights into the first prophecy of the Bible, Genesis 3:15, in which the Lord tells the serpent in the garden that he will put enmity between his seed and the seed of the woman. This seed war runs throughout the Bible and is seen as possible interpretation for Daniel 2's prophecy of the mingling of the clay and the iron, which will not hold. Thousands of alien abduction case studies by respected academics like Dr. David Jacobs of Temple University and the late Dr. John Mack of Harvard speak of hybrid breeding programs. Genesis 6 tells us that hybrids ruled before the flood and returned to a diminished degree afterwards, as the giants, Nephilim, and Raphaim referred to in the Bible. The apocryphal book of 1st Enoch tells us the bulk of these Nephilim were wiped out in the great flood, their disembodied spirits condemned to walk the earth with human desires unfulfilled unless they are able to oppress or possess a human body. This is the origin of demons. When the Bible tells us Noah and his family were pure in their generations, this refers to their genetics, not to the purity of character. Somehow the Nephilim were reintroduced and Joshua and Moses wiped them out and the societies they reigned over so that humankind could survive and have relationship with the Creator. This was self-defense against an alien predator, not genocide as some suppose. So the fallen angels, their demonic progeny, and other unclean spirits seek a return to the so-called golden age when they walked among human beings and gave them a technology lost in the great flood. The technology is once again becoming available in the present age. Most of us will willingly embrace it as progress. Life is short, but eternity is long. No matter what happens, live or die, Yah, the God of the Bible, has our backs. That is, if we have accepted the gift and grabbed the lifeline that has been offered to us in the form of Messiah. We are able to believe that he is who he said he is, the Son of God, who paid the debt for our sins with his blood, an act mandated by divine order and love. If we're able to do that, we have salvation. As a result, no matter what happens in this fallen world, we know freedom. Take heart. I peeked at the end of the book, and God wins. Keep your eyes focused on the Lord and your mind on his word. In the meantime, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride. This is Gumbo Craig, and this is Walking Out of Babylon. In the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah, all glory to the Most High God. Shalom.